News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. And there it is, your closing bell on this Thursday on Wall Street, where stocks just sunk. Tariff headlines, a tech sell-off in anticipation of tomorrow's jobs numbers had traders navigating some pretty intense market swings throughout the day. We do bring you the closing numbers each day here at Bloomberg. The S&P 500 down 1.7% or 104 points. NASDAQ down 2.6% or 483 points. And the Dow down 1%, 428 points. The 10-year Treasury yield at 4.28%. The 2-year yield at 3.96%. Bitcoin also lower today, down about 1.5%. For most of the day, it's been dipping below 89,000. President Trump himself says he's not really that worried about the stock market.
No, nothing to do with the market. I'm not even looking at the market because long term, the United States will be very strong with what's happening here.
He says the markets are rattled because they're impacted by global companies that won't do as well because the U.S. is, quote, taking back things that were taken from us many years ago. President Trump also changing course, announcing that goods from Mexico and Canada that fall under USMCA, the free trade agreement, will be exempt from tariffs for 1 month. Those tariffs don't kick in until April 2nd.
So that's one for Canada, one for Mexico.
Yes, sir.
They've been in the news lately, haven't they? And I spoke to the President of Mexico, wonderful woman, today.
Trump's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says if Canada and Mexico can show progress on preventing drugs and migrants from crossing the border by April 2nd, those tariffs could be off the table. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, meanwhile, says he welcomes indications that the U.S. may delay substantial tariffs on Canadian products for a month. But he says Canada's plan to impose retaliatory tariffs will stay in place. Trudeau says he expects Canada and the U.S. will be in a trade war for the foreseeable future. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the U.S. is willing to, quote, go all in on sanctions on Russian energy if it helps lead to a ceasefire in Ukraine. Bessent says sanctions on Russia have been too weak until now.
This administration has kept the enhanced sanctions in place and will not hesitate to go all in should it provide leverage in peace negotiations. Per President Trump's guidance, sanctions will be used explicitly and aggressively for immediate maximum impact.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent speaking to the Economic Club of New York. Meanwhile, the U.S. trade deficit in goods and services widened to a record in January. Bloomberg's Vinny Del Giudice with that part of the story.
Businesses have been scrambling to secure goods from abroad on tariff threats, setting the value of U.S. imports to an all-time high. The White House is attempting to rectify what it sees as unfair trade policies in other countries. U.S. exports also rose in January. And yet, tariffs have fueled inflation worries. Vinny Del Giudice, Bloomberg Radio.
Philadelphia Fed President Patrick Hager says risks to the economy are on the rise, and he blames an increase in inflationary pressure and consumers becoming more cautious. Hager notes that uncertainty created by tariffs and other geopolitical risks are making it harder for the Fed to make policy decisions. President Trump has said that he wants his new education chief, Linda McMahon, to, quote, put herself out of a job and close the education department. McMahon was confirmed by the Senate on Monday and told employees it was the department's final mission to eliminate bureaucratic bloat and turn over the agency's authority to the states. National Education Association President Becky Pringle says schools and students will wind up hurt by this.
Class sizes are going to balloon. We know that one-on-one attention that students need will not be there, and it will affect our most vulnerable students, those who are living in poverty, those who have disabilities.
Eliminating the education department would be a cumbersome task that would likely require an act of Congress. And while the Trump administration looks to slash more jobs across the government, those who want to work at the White House may face a new litmus test. Bloomberg's Nathan Hager has details.
Bloomberg News has learned multiple job candidates at the White House are facing interview questions like, would you be willing to serve as a spokesperson for mass deportations? Which of President Trump's executive orders is your favorite? And who won the 2020 presidential election? Several candidates for top-tier jobs at federal agencies tell us they find the questions odd, that they're far afield from their likely duties. The vetting process is being led by Sergio Gore, a former staffer for Republican Senator Rand Paul, who helped raise funds for President Trump's 2024 campaign. In Washington, I'm Nathan Hager, Bloomberg Radio.
That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. This is Bloomberg.